I think he's going to end up being on this roster. I mean, why would they sign Jurickson Profar to a minor league deal just for him to play the rest of the minor league season? I mean, this Padres team is out of it. Manny Machado is dealing with injuries. They list him as a third baseman when he hasn't played third base in years. It just makes sense, and I tweeted out a tidbit from Kevin Acey's Padres Daily newsletter about the health of Manny Machado because Kevin wrote that for the first time, Manny wore a brace on his right elbow in last night's game. He has been playing through what has been described as tennis elbow, aka a muscle strain near the elbow, much of the season, and it has gotten worse and causes him significant pain on certain swings. And it's like, okay, if you have significant pain on certain swings, he made a terrible throw last night. Like, is that affecting him a little bit? The Padres are out of it. There's no point in Manny Machado playing. It's not like he's playing for some personal accomplishment. I mean, I guess any hit that he gets, it gets closer to 3,000. Any home run he gets, it gets closer to the next, point in his career home run total, right? Whatever he's at. But in terms of like this season helping the team win, there's no point in really helping the team win this season because you still have a job next season, right? And I think the best thing the Padres can do right now is look towards next season. What is the best for next season? What is the best for this off season? And that is making sure Manny can have a nice, full, healthy off season. And maybe he's not going to have a full, healthy off season because maybe this elbow thing will linger into the off season, and he's going to have to take some time to heal that elbow before he gets really back into those workouts with Nick Soto, his trainer in Miami, who's been on the show a couple times before. So hopefully I'll be able to get him on again and ask him some questions about Manny when this off season hits, or maybe at some point at the beginning of next season to kind of review what happened in the off season with Manny and the training and all that. But yeah, it's this Profar news a little surprising, but it's not shocking because AJ Preller, he loves his former Rangers players, and so he brought Profar in. And I thought it worked out pretty good with Jurickson Profar. I thought it worked out really good last season. Playing left field, he was leading off a bunch. And I knew that he probably wasn't going to come back because he had a pretty good year last year. So he was going to go get his money. But what was surprising was he didn't really get his money with the Colorado Rockies. I think he ended up signing a 1-year deal with the Rockies. And he has a negative 1.7 WAR this year with the Rockies. 236 average, less than 10 home runs, less than 40 runs driven in. His OPS is below 700. His OPS plus is over 20% below league average. It's at 76. And league average OPS plus is 100. So, yeah, he has not been able to replicate what he did last season with the Padres this year with the Rockies. And so this move, it's like, well, you'll pay him whatever I think it would be the prorated minimum for the rest of this season, which is like nothing, especially for Peter Seidler. And maybe Profar will find something and Profar will be like, hey, I want to be back next year with this Padres team. Maybe he'll be willing to take on a utility role, and this will allow the Padres to have him be in that and not rush Jackson Merrill to the big leagues. That's just something that popped into my head. Like, maybe that's what happens. Because I think Profar, I mean, obviously, whatever happens in September here, he's not going to get a bunch of money as a free agent in the offseason. So might as well come back to the Padres. I'd rather have Profar on my bench than some other guys that have been on this bench. He can play the outfield, we know that. And I guess they're going to have him play some infield. Maybe he'll get some at-bats with El Paso and then be called up, or maybe he'll be called up today as rosters expand and they'll shut down Manny eventually here. I mean, if they call Profar up, shouldn't they just shut down Manny right now? Like, what's the point? I know they're not mathematically eliminated, so okay, I'll give them till they're mathematically eliminated. But once they get mathematically eliminated, if they don't shut Manny down right there, I don't know what they're doing. I think that's just stupid for him to continue to play. And Manny could go with the whole Yu Darvish thing, like Yu Darvish told the media yesterday. Well, I think it would be disrespectful for me not to do my job, for me not to try to play through this play and come back, right? But I think it's definitely not disrespectful to Padres fans. It's actually respectful to Padres fans to not play, if that makes sense, because you're trying to put yourself in the best spot possible going into the off season to have a great off season and be ready, fully healthy, ready to go to not have a failure in 2024. And maybe Profar will play some outfield, or maybe he won't, but maybe he comes back to the Padres, you know, in the off season, and maybe they're okay with trying Jurickson Profar in left field, putting him back in left. They can put Soto back in right, move Tatis over to center field, and you don't have Grish. If you think Profar is the better offensive option and you just want the best offense out there, and you don't want to spend big on an outfielder in free agency, I'm just throwing some stuff up against the wall, really. I know Grish, I love watching him play defense, but I do see a lot of the fan base that is tired of him continuing to get at bats. There's Jose Zokar, obviously, that can get at bats and he can play center field. But I feel like Tatis eventually wants to be in center field. And so maybe we know Profar, I mean, he played tremendous, I thought, in left field last year. So maybe that's something that could be in the works down the line. We shall see. But it was an interesting thing. Profar back on a minor league deal and having him there listed as a third baseman. Who lists that? Is it the Padres that list the position? Is it just MLB.com that just throws a position in there? If they did just throw a position in there, I don't know why they would just throw third base next to Jurickson Profar's name on the Padres transactions page, because Profar hasn't played third base in a while. If I go look at his splits from just this season with the Colorado Rockies, the positions that he has played, left field, he has played 86 games. I think they would throw him in there as an outfielder on the transactions page. So I think this would be the Padres saying, no, we're going to put him at third base, and they can have Manny be shut down, which I think is the right thing to do, especially when he's hurt. You could have Profar play third. You could shut down Bogaerts if you want, have Kim play short, because we know Bogaerts has been battling through at least the wrist injury. There's probably more. Have Kim play short. You could have Batten play second base. You could have Carpenter, Garrett Cooper share time at first base. You could bring Eggy Rosario up. I think he's healthy. You could bring Jackson Merrill up if you still want to, even with Profar on the roster, and have him play shortstop and have Kim play second base. But yeah, I think not shutting down everyone, but shutting down guys that are clearly hurt, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense for them to continue to fight through injury. The only thing that could happen from that is negative. Because again, it's not like Manny's fighting for an MVP or Bogaerts is fighting for an MVP or anyone on this team is fighting for an MVP. Blake Snell, okay, fighting for the Cy Young. You could, keep him throwing, obviously, okay. But, Manny, he's hurt. Bogaerts has dealt with injuries. And you bring in Profar on a minor league contract. He's obviously familiar with Petco Park and playing in that Padres uniform. Why not?